They say leaving home is like stepping into a darkness that may never end. But sometimes that darkness hides a light you can only find by risking it all. At age 20, Nana Kwame marched out of his village at dawn with nothing but a small bag and a fierce hope in his heart, and never looked back. Nana Kwame's parents were as poor as the cracked clay floor of their hut. His father tilled a tiny plot. His mother ground cassava by hand. As a child, he sometimes went to bed hungry. In the village, the same faces passed by every morning and every evening. He knew that if he stayed, his life would be mapped out the same as theirs, small, hard, and forgotten. So at 20, he said his farewells, kissed his mother's weathered cheek, squeezed his father's calloused hand, and set off to the city. He arrived in the city with no friend, no contact, no recommendation. The great metropolis swallowed him. The buildings towered, the streets roared, the people rushed. He had no address. For the first week, he slept under a crumbling shed near the riverbank. Each morning, birds would wake him. Each evening, distant horns and shouts would lull him into restless sleep. Hunger gnawed, dignity stayed just out of reach. He wandered the streets looking for work, begging at small shops. "Allow me sweep your floor for a day." Some said no, some laughed, some asked him to run errands. He did them for the tiniest pay. He washed dishes in a roadside chop bar for pittance. He carried parcels from one market stall to another. When the rain came, he had no shelter. When he fell sick, he stayed ill. Some days he thought of returning home, but pride held him back. In the village, before he left, he had tried many jobs too. He sold firewood at dawn. He tilled a neighbor's land for a bowl of banku. He fetched water from far away. But everything seemed to fail him. The crop yield was poor. The neighbors barely paid. These early days taught him humility and hunger, both the emptiness in his stomach and the drive to fill it. One evening, after working long hours at a local food stand, he collapsed near a dark alley. He had nothing left, no money, no strength, no hope. As he sat with his head bowed, a stranger appeared, an old man in tattered clothes, holding a small lantern. The man offered him water. He asked, "Why do you carry this sorrow in your eyes?" Nana Kwame tried to speak, but tears came. The old man gave him a loaf of bread, pressed a few coins into his palm, and walked away into the dark. Nana Kwame sat there, stunned, not knowing whether to follow or cry. That small kindness of a loaf of bread, a few coins, a word, became the ember that would flare his destiny. With renewed strength, he stood up. He used the coins to buy soap and cleaning supplies. For several nights, he scrubbed floors in a church building, cleaned the windows of small shops, lifted wastes, mopped corridors, and carried heavy water drums. He saved every day. He refused to be stolen by laziness. Months turned to years. He made a small circle of acquaintances. A shop owner who let him store tools in a corner, a food vendor who sometimes gave him leftovers, a bus conductor who knew him by name. He learned fast. He watched how trade worked. He saw that people in the city valued reliability, honesty, and friendliness. If you delivered when asked, you would be called again. He quietly called himself Kwame, the reliable, and he came early, stayed late, and never complained. Because of that old man's kindness, Nana Kwame learned to pay it forward. At the chop bar, where he washed dishes, he sometimes gave a plate of food to a hungry child passing by. He once let a shopkeeper take goods on credit when business was slow, insisting only on fair repayment later. That reputation for kindness and integrity traveled slowly in tight circles. One day, A businessman from a foreign company visited the area, looking for someone to coordinate small deliveries to rural towns. They needed someone local, trustworthy, able to manage scheduling, pay couriers, and resolve problems on the road. The businessman asked around. Someone said, "Talk to Kwame. He always shows up." He sent for Nana Kwame. At their first meeting, the businessman handed him a thick file. "I have many routes that go to villages around here. If you can take care of them, I will pay you commission plus bonus." Nana Kwame swallowed hard. He negotiated carefully. He risked his savings, secured a few motorbikes, and recruited a small team of drivers from poorer parts of the city. He mapped routes, timed schedules, solved breakdowns at midnight, and chased payments in distant towns. He fought failure, fixed mistakes, slept late, and rose early. The turning point came when one of his drivers was attacked by bush robbers on a remote road. The insurance company balked, the driver feared for his life. Kwame took the risk. He traveled at dawn to the crime scene, negotiated with local chiefs, paid ransom demands through local intermediaries, hired guards, and rerouted his schedules. The package got delivered, but his reputation soared. The businessman was impressed. Word spread. Kwame is the man who goes even where danger hides. Others who lost goods in transit came to him. He was the only one brave enough, honest enough. Within years, the enterprise grew. He established a logistics company, a small warehouse, a transport hub. He opened branches in multiple towns. He invested in farmland back home. He built a house in his village. He donated to his old school. He hired his parents. His mother now runs the cafeteria, and his father manages the farm. He paid for his siblings' schooling, for the village's borehole repair, for medicines. But he never forgot that night by the riverbank when a stranger gave him bread. That kindness became his North Star. At his company, he set aside budgets to feed hungry workers, to assist struggling vendors, to hire youth from villages. He refused to tower above people. He walked behind them, helping. One evening, many years later, as he stood on his balcony in the city, looking at the lights that stretched across the skyline, he remembered the feeling of emptiness, the face of his mother, the cracked clay floor, the riverbank at dawn. He thought, if I had not left, I would never have known this possibility. If that man had not stopped, I might have died forgotten. There is a secret, though, one he never told anyone. He searched for the old man who fed him, asking in alleys, markets, and churches. No one knew who he was or where he lived. That old man vanished like mist, but every time Kwame gave to another, every time he extended a hand, he believed the old man watched, and that belief gave him strength. His journey from hunger to abundance was never just about money. It was about kindness that echoes, about risk that births reward, about the invisible debt we owe to those who spare us hope in our darkest night. And now the question is, if one act can change a life, what act will you plant today?